Started with our first news. The MMA world is buzzing with heated debate after former UFC star and legend Rampage Jackson made bold comments regarding the future of Dricus Du Plessis, DDP. During a recent episode of his podcast, Rampage did not hold back when addressing DDP's recent fight against Chimaev, and his words have sparked intense discussions across the community. According to Rampage, the fight was not just a typical loss, it was an outright domination. He explained that DDP should never even consider the idea of a rematch, calling it a career-ending trap. In his view, chasing Chimaev again would only leave Du Plessis stuck in a dangerous cycle of chasing revenge against an opponent who already proved to be on a completely different level that night. Rampage emphasized that the defeat was not only physically damaging, but could also leave lasting mental scars, the kind of setback that can derail a fighter's confidence and momentum. Instead of pursuing redemption against Chimaev, Rampage suggested that DDP might need to consider a dramatic move, switching weight classes. Starting fresh in a new division, he argued, could be the best way forward if Du Plessis wants to continue building his career without being overshadowed by a dominant champion who has already beaten him convincingly. However, this idea isn't without challenges. One of the hosts quickly pushed back, pointing out that DDP may be too big to safely cut down to welterweight. Such a drastic weight cut could impact his health and overall performance. At the same time, staying at middleweight presents another dilemma. DDP could remain trapped in a division where he's already suffered a one-sided loss to the reigning champion, leaving him with limited options for another title run. This has put Dricus Du Plessis in a precarious position, caught between two difficult choices. Rampage doubled down on his stance, insisting that out of respect for himself and his career, DDP should seriously consider leaving middleweight. He argued that going after Chimaev again wouldn't show determination, but desperation, and that another one-sided defeat could damage DDP's legacy for good. The MMA community is deeply divided. Some fans agree with Rampage, believing Du Plessis should avoid further punishment, while others argue that true champions don't run. They adapt, evolve, and eventually come back stronger. The debate rages on, and one question remains. Should Dricus Du Plessis make the bold move to a new division, or stay at middleweight and fight his way back to the top? Moving to our other news, concerns are beginning to rise about Alex Pereira's motivation ahead of his highly anticipated showdown with Magomed Ankalaev this November. Billed as one of the most important clashes of the year, the matchup has captured the attention of fans around the globe. Pereira, known for his devastating knockout power and his ability to thrive under the brightest lights, has quickly established himself as one of the sport's biggest stars. However, some analysts believe he may no longer be as hungry as he once was, a factor that could prove dangerous against a calculated and relentless opponent like Ankalaev. During a recent interview, veteran coach and analyst Zhang Man offered his candid assessment of Pereira's current state. According to Zhang, Pereira no longer competes with the same intensity and drive that propelled him to championship gold. In his view, wealth and success have changed Pereira's outlook. I think Ankalaev can defend his title because Alex Pereira is not as motivated as before, Zhang explained. If we could get the old Pereira back, the one who was sharp, hungry, and driven, then yes, I would still favor him as the better striker. But the version we've seen recently doesn't look the same. He's simply too comfortable now. When you're young, poor, and desperate to make your mark, you fight with purpose. Once financial security comes, that edge often disappears. These comments have sparked a wave of debate online. Fans and pundits alike are now questioning whether Pereira has truly lost his killer instinct, or if this is simply another example of psychological warfare being waged in the build-up to a massive fight. Motivation, after all, is often one of the most underrated weapons in combat sports. History is filled with examples of elite fighters who reach the pinnacle of the sport, only to see their dominance fade once the burning desire to prove themselves began to dwindle. Yet it would be premature to write Pereira off. Time and again, he has shown the ability to rise to the occasion when the stakes are at their highest. The central question remains, will Alex Pereira rediscover the fire that made him a champion and silence the doubters, or will Magomed Ankalaev exploit what many see as a decline in hunger to secure the most important victory of his career? Moving to another news, Khamzat Chimaev has once again found himself in the center of attention after a fiery confrontation with Dricus Du Plessis coach Morne Visser. The tension between the two stems from UFC 319, where Chimaev delivered one of the most dominant performances of his career. Leading up to that fight, Visser had dismissed Chimaev's skill set, claiming there was nothing special about him, and boldly predicting that Du Plessis would emerge victorious. When the cage door closed, however, the story played out very differently. Chimaev mauled Du Plessis from start to finish, putting on a clinic that left no room for debate about who was the superior fighter. The bout was widely regarded as one of the most one-sided main events in recent UFC history. Yet despite the overwhelming defeat, Visser refused to acknowledge Chimaev's dominance. Instead of offering humility or credit to the victor, he doubled down on his stance, insisting that Du Plessis would destroy Chimaev in a rematch. Visser went even further, claiming that his fighter should only be considered for another title opportunity and shouldn't waste time against other contenders. These remarks did not sit well with fans or the wider MMA community. Many took to social media to call Visser delusional, pointing out that Du Plessis had been outclassed in every department. Critics also highlighted that Visser's corner work during the fight offered little to no useful guidance, making his post-fight statements even more difficult to defend. To many observers, the coach appeared to be in complete denial, refusing to face the reality of what had unfolded inside the octagon. Then came the twist. In a recent interview with Adam Zubair, Chimaev revealed that he confronted Visser shortly after leaving the arena. According to him, it wasn't a physical altercation, but rather a direct face-to-face conversation. Chimaev explained that he approached the coach and delivered a clear verbal reminder of who truly runs the division. For him, this moment wasn't just about beating Du Plessis inside the cage, it was about silencing the doubters outside of it. By confronting Visser, Chimaev reinforced the message that his dominance goes beyond the octagon. It wasn't only Du Plessis who was humbled, it was also the narrative being pushed by his corner. For Chimaev, it was the final statement, proof that both fighter and coach were forced to reckon with reality. Moving to another news, Ilia Topuria's next fight date has finally been leaked, and it's massive news for the lightweight division. The reigning champion, who recently captured the belt in dominant fashion, will not return to the octagon until January or February of 2026. This revelation didn't come from speculation or vague rumors. It came directly from Arman Tsarukyan, who let the information slip while cornering Khamzat Chimaev during UFC 319 in Chicago. For fans of the lightweight division, this news brings a mix of excitement and frustration. On one hand, Topuria's extended absence means the championship will remain inactive for several months, creating a temporary gap at the very top of the division. On the other hand, this delay presents a golden opportunity for contenders to rise, make statements, and prove themselves as the rightful challenger by the time Topuria returns. Naturally, Arman Tsarukyan is one of the first names being mentioned in that conversation. Coming off impressive performances, Tsarukyan is confident that he is not only the most deserving contender, but also the fighter with the skill set to pose the greatest threat to Topuria's reign. He has been vocal about wanting to fight again before the year ends, and according to him, negotiations with the UFC are already underway. He hinted at a potential return in October or November, with Abu Dhabi and Qatar both strong candidates to host his next bout. When pressed on possible opponents, Tsarukyan didn't hold back. He mentioned names such as Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, and his personal preference, Paddy Pimblett. In fact, he made it clear that he doesn't particularly like anyone in the division, going as far as to say he dislikes every single one of them. For him, this isn't just about another fight, it's about proving that he belongs at the absolute top, shoulder to shoulder with the champion. Tsarukyan's confidence has only grown after training alongside Khamzat Chimaev to prepare for UFC 319. He credited those sessions for sharpening his skills, reigniting his hunger, and giving him a new level of intensity. In his own words, training with Khamzat is like training with a different species of fighter, an experience that has fueled his motivation even further. With Topuria sidelined until early 2026, Tsarukyan now has a clear chance to grab the spotlight. If he secures a marquee fight against a big name such as Gaethje or Pimblett and delivers another dominant performance, he could position himself as the undeniable #1 contender, ready to challenge Topuria when the belt is finally on the line again. Moving to another news, MMA legend Khabib Nurmagomedov has unexpectedly found himself at the center of a major controversy, sparking heated debate across the combat sports community. Known for his calm and disciplined demeanor, Khabib shocked fans when he stormed into the cage during one of his students' recent fights to confront referee Jason Herzog in dramatic fashion. The incident unfolded at the end of a heated round when Khabib's fighter returned to his corner visibly frustrated, signaling that he had absorbed several illegal shots to the back of the head. His body language told the story. He felt unprotected and angry that the referee had not intervened. That's when Khabib, usually the picture of composure, lost his cool. Without hesitation, he entered the cage, walked directly up to Herzog, and confronted him face to face. In a moment that stunned everyone watching, Khabib even grabbed the back of the referee's head while demanding answers for why the fouls had been ignored. For many, this was a shocking departure from the image Khabib has built since retiring undefeated. After the infamous post-fight brawl following his victory over Conor McGregor at UFC 229, Khabib worked hard to reinvent himself as a composed leader and respected coach. His post-retirement career has been marked by professionalism, humility, and his dedication to mentoring the next generation of fighters. That's why this heated confrontation stood out. It was the exact opposite of the calm authority he has come to represent. Reactions across the MMA community have been deeply divided. Supporters applauded Khabib for defending his fighter, arguing that his passion and loyalty were commendable. They claim that poor officiating could have caused serious harm and that any great coach would step in under those circumstances. Critics, however, argue that Khabib crossed a clear line by physically confronting a referee. He violated one of the sport's most important boundaries. If every coach were to storm the cage in disagreement, they warn, chaos would replace order in professional MMA. The backlash has been especially strong in Russia, where Khabib is considered a national hero. Some fans believe it was simply a rare emotional outburst, while others fear it could tarnish his legacy. Khabib has yet to release an official statement, leaving speculation to swirl. One thing is clear, whether viewed as justified or reckless, the incident serves as a reminder of the intensity of this sport. Emotions run high, and when a legend like Khabib Nurmagomedov is involved, even a single moment can echo throughout the MMA world. Finally, Belal Muhammad is making waves in the welterweight division, and he isn't holding back when it comes to voicing his next target. During a recent Q&A session, Muhammad was crystal clear about what he wants: a fight against former champion Kamaru Usman. His tone was direct, his message uncompromising, and his hunger evident. "Honestly, I'm not even paying attention to anyone else," Muhammad said. "I want my next fight, my next opponent. And if you see Usman around, tell him I'm looking for him. I'm ready. I've been ready. I'm hungry. I'm healthy. I've been training. I just need one of these guys to stop talking and sign the contract." These weren't just throwaway words. They carried the weight of a fighter who feels overlooked and underappreciated despite a long and impressive win streak in one of the UFC's deepest divisions. Muhammad has fought his way through tough opponents with consistency and discipline, yet he still hasn't received the title shot he believes he's earned. With Leon Edwards holding the welterweight belt and the division packed with star names, Muhammad sees Usman as the perfect opponent to cement his case. Usman, one of the most dominant welterweights in UFC history, is coming off tough losses. Fans are eager to see whether the former champion can bounce back or if his best days are behind him. For Muhammad, defeating a legend like Usman would silence any remaining doubts about his legitimacy as a true top contender. There's also a strong stylistic narrative behind the matchup. Both fighters are elite wrestlers with relentless forward pressure and excellent cardio. However, Muhammad firmly believes that his pace, resilience, and durability would allow him to outlast Usman in a grueling battle. It's the kind of matchup that feels tailor-made for fight fans. Two pressure fighters colliding, with the winner likely moving one step closer to the title. The bigger question now is whether the UFC is willing to make it happen. On one hand, the fight makes sense in the rankings and creates an intriguing storyline. On the other, the promotion could steer Usman in a different direction or prioritize other contenders. Still, Muhammad's persistence has sparked conversations across the MMA world, and history has shown that when fighters refuse to stay quiet, big fights often follow. Belal Muhammad is ready, he's hungry, and if his message is heard, Kamaru Usman might just be the next man standing across from him inside the octagon. Moving to our other news, concerns are beginning to rise about Alex Pereira's motivation ahead of his highly anticipated showdown with Magomed Ankalaev this November. Billed as one of the most important clashes of the year, the matchup has captured the attention of fans around the globe. Pereira, known for his devastating knockout power and his ability to thrive under the brightest lights, has quickly established himself as one of the sport's biggest stars. However, some analysts believe he may no longer be as hungry as he once was, a factor that could prove dangerous against a calculated and relentless opponent like Ankalaev. During a recent interview, veteran coach and analyst Zhang Man offered his candid assessment of Pereira's current state. According to Zhang, Pereira no longer competes with the same intensity and drive that propelled him to championship gold. In his view, wealth and success have changed Pereira's outlook. I think Ankalaev can defend his title because Alex Pereira is not as motivated as before, Zhang explained. If we could get the old Pereira back, the one who was sharp, hungry, and driven, then yes, I would still favor him as the better striker, but the version we've seen recently doesn't look the same. He's simply too comfortable now. When you're young, poor, and desperate to make your mark, you fight with purpose. Once financial security comes, that edge often disappears. These comments have sparked a wave of debate online. Fans and pundits alike are now questioning whether Pereira has truly lost his killer instinct, or if this is simply another example of psychological warfare being waged in the build-up to a massive fight. Motivation, after all, is often one of the most underrated weapons in combat sports. History is filled with examples of elite fighters who reached the pinnacle of the sport, only to see their dominance fade once the burning desire to prove themselves began to dwindle. Yet it would be premature to write Pereira off. Time and again, he has shown the ability to rise to the occasion when the stakes are at their highest. The central question remains, will Alex Pereira rediscover the fire that made him a champion and silence the doubters? Or will Magomed Ankalaev exploit what many see as a decline in hunger to secure the most important victory of his career?